we are going to cover events and seminars today. We're going to talk about this as a lead gen method. So as always, I'm just going to remind you, I recommend that you have 5 different types of lead gen working. Most of the time, your first one's always going to be your database. Second one's going to be leads from listings. We talked about the database back in January. So if you want to dive into those trainings, you didn't join us in January, they're on the YouTube channel. So hop in there to those January trainings. I think they're listed as like 2025 trainings. You can pick up all the database trainings that show you how to set up your database appropriately and then how to work it in a way that's going to bring you a return on that database. The second way is going to be leads from listings. So database and leads from listings are your first 2 methods or legs of lead generation. I talked about leads from listings on the first lead gen training where we were doing the overview of lead generation. At the end of that lesson, I dive into generating leads from your listings. Okay, you're going to choose 3 additional methods of lead generation, of which you're going to really focus in on one at a time as you develop systems and processes around it and as you perfect or master that skill. Once you've mastered that skill, then you're going to move on to the next one and work that one. The reason that we say that you should have 3 different other methods besides database and leads from listings is that sometimes the market shifts and things change. You know, if we were in the COVID season and your primary method of generating leads and your only method of generating leads was open houses, when your open houses get shut down because the market's changed, the climate has changed, we've now got restrictions on what we're allowed to do, we don't want your entire business to tank. Okay, we want you to have other options that you can lean back on. So although you might have database leads from listings and then a primary lead generation source, we want you to always be constantly developing systems and processes and working another one so that when something happens, you can turn around and pivot now to social media, right? So whatever that is, that's really the method behind it. It's not so much, oh my gosh, you've got to be doing 5 things and that feels overwhelming. Yes, that is the goal, but you're going to be perfecting one at a time and then continuing to work the open house lead gen while you're moving on to social media. But we're still dabbling in social media while we're perfecting that. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. I hope the why behind why we do this makes sense. And the reason that we don't do 20 different types of lead gen is you're spread too thin. You will end up with lead gen overwhelm. Take it from somebody who knows, and you will shut down and not do anything. And we don't want you to do that either. Okay. So that's where I'm coming from on this. If at any time during this class today, you guys have questions, I do have the chat box open. You can raise your little Zoom hand. You can unmute yourself and just interrupt me. That's totally okay. I never worry about you guys doing that. I don't count it as rude. So let's get started. Today, we are going to talk about client events. We'll talk about how to expand that guest list to generate leads and expand your database. Then we'll talk about seminars, and we're going to wrap up just touching on hosting charity events. So let's dive into our client events. Notice it says systems and processes there on the top. I know that you're probably tired of hearing me say systems and processes, but I was on my coaching call last week with the other coaches with Realty One Group. We meet once a month and discuss things. And that's one of the main things that we see on like agents, even successful agents, as they're trying to grow and start teams or they're trying to grow their businesses. Nobody has systems and processes in place. They've never gotten started appropriately, which causes them to have difficulty continuing to grow and scale their business. So I will never stop talking about systems and processes. When you start with systems and processes, it makes it so much easier to grow your business and still offer the same level of service. So when I'm talking about events or we're talking about seminars, it's no different. So prepare to get inundated with systems and processes every time you attend a training with me. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay. We can make client events, seminars, or charity events a lead generation activity, but when we do it, we need to think big. So we need to think about it as a year-round activity, okay? Your ultimate goal, if you're doing events, should be to host 8 events per year, or basically what it would come out to is 1 every 6 weeks. Okay, if you're like, why not one a month, Amy? Because the invite process is kind of like a 6-week process. The invite and follow-up process is going to be a 6-week process. So we don't want too much overlap going on. So that's why we say every 6 weeks. Okay, because we have the invite and then we have the follow-up. And remember too that I always recommend starting small and then scaling up. So instead of starting with 8, you may want to start with like 3 or 4. Okay. And then maybe we start adding, so maybe like 1 event per quarter. And then we're going to start as we master that. We have systems and processes in place. It's working well. Then we can start gradually introducing more. So what I would do is if I were starting events and thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds like fun. This is totally me. I'm going to do events. This year, I might say, okay, I'm only going to do 4. Every 3 months, I'm going to have an event. And then when I go in to start business planning for next year, then I'm going to step up my game where maybe now I can start tackling them every, 6 weeks, or maybe you even want to, instead of that would be once a quarter would be like every 12 weeks. So maybe you're like, okay, well now I can do one every other month. So I'm going to start with 4 and then I'm going to scale up next year to 6. And then the next year I'm going to get to 8, right? So it can be a process. It doesn't have to all happen today, but know that the gold in the events is found in the invite process and in the follow-up process. It's not actually in the event itself. The event itself will generate the leads. That's where you're going to build relationship, but you're going to have so many interactions with your people through the invite and the follow-up. That's where the gold is going to happen. So even if they don't show up, even if somebody in your database never shows up to your event, you're still going to end up with multiple interactions with that person based on this plan. I would make sure that the events represent you and who you are. Okay. And what you enjoy doing. They should be fun to you. So think about like you and who's in your database. What would you enjoy doing? I think on the social media lesson, I don't know, a couple weeks back, we talked about the fact that you should define who, or maybe I'm thinking of a different training, but anyways, you should define who your key target audience is. Like you should know who your key target client is, right? So for me, my key target client would be, people who own horses, specifically women, ages 35 to 55 who own horses and enjoy trail riding. Like that's my key target demographic. And so my events that I do might be around that. So instead of going to a movie, mine might be like, hey, I've got 30 tickets for a rodeo and the first 30 people to respond get to go, right? Free of charge, whatever that might be. So think about what you and your database would enjoy doing and what kind of event or activity would draw them in. And then think about what you can do to create that wow factor. Does this make sense to everybody with events? You can also use your little thumbs up or thumbs down. All right. As always, make sure to document as you begin this process, document all the preparation steps. And then you want to, thank you, Deborah, for your thumbs up. And then you want to debrief after the event of what worked well. Thank you for the heart, what didn't work. And then you want to pivot and make changes for your next one. Okay, this is what this is going to do is this is going to create that well-oiled machine that you know what works, you know what doesn't work, and you know how to get the reaction and get people to attend these events. Okay, so there are lots of different types of events that you can host. They could be big events where everyone comes at the same time, something like movie nights where you rent out a theater. You could do skate nights, ice cream socials, movies in the park, paint nights, concerts, sporting events, trunk or treat events, national night out, s'mores nights, right? So there's so many, that's just like a very small sampling of the different types of events that you could do. Or you may do events which allow those invited to trickle in over time, right? So things like pictures with Santa, pictures with the Easter Bunny, Valentine photos, or other holiday photos, or maybe a pie day or a Thanksgiving pie giveaway where you give out pies. They actually come to you to pick those up, or like a hot cocoa bar or something fun like that. So it might be, hey, for the next week, I'm having a hot cocoa bar every day from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, swing by, say hi. I'd love to catch up with you and grab a cup of hot cocoa, right? So something fun, bring your kids, right? Whatever that might be. So those are events where instead of renting something out or hosting one big event that happens all at one time, we may do it over the course of a week or 2 weeks where people actually come to us. Okay. Or you maybe want to do like a smaller event where you invite just a few people to each event. Something like a happy hour, right? Each week you might invite a small group of people to join you at happy hour. And, just a side thought here, this might be a good way to interwork your weekly calls with your events to give you a solid return on those calls and a reason to call them. If you're one of those people that you're like, man, Amy, I just hate making those calls to the database every quarter. It stresses me out. I feel like I'm bugging them. I have nothing really to say to them except I'm trying to build relationship with them and hoping that they're going to bring up real estate so that I can pick up a referral or sell their house for them. Here's a great thing. Host an event. Hey, it's happy hour this Friday. I do happy hour every Friday at Merchant in Maine or whatever it might be. And I would love for you to join me. So I just wanted to call to invite you, right? Oh my gosh, now we've got this touch. And not only is it like, hey, we're building relationship with that Ford sandwich conversation, but we're actually inviting them to something, which nothing says, I want relationship more with you, relationship more than inviting them to an event, right? So super cool way to interact it in. You could do like a happy hour like that. You could get like season tickets to the River Cats or a baseball team or a soccer team or something to that effect. And then be like, hey, I've got season tickets. I've got 4 tickets. I've got, 3 available, or maybe you pick up 5 so that you can come and then you invite 4 people to each thing and just utilize those season tickets. Now they have now become a write-off, which is cool, right? Check with your tax professional always. I'm not a tax professional, but you can probably write those off as well as any snacks and drinks and different things that you have. So you could make it like a fun, small event. So if large events stress you out, I will be the first one to say that large events stress me out. I am not a large group person, but on a smaller level, I can invite 3 or 4 people show up, right? If I invite 25 people to an event this weekend, probably only a handful are going to show up. I could probably handle that. Okay. So lots of different types of events that you can invite people to. All right. Each event should create somewhere around 10 to 15 interactions with each person. Okay, it's going to be a mix of phone calls, text messages, emails, social media, and mail. So we're going to touch on all the different ways that you can interact with them. Give me just a second because my computer needs to be plugged in. Hold on, let me grab a cord. All right, we're back in business. All right, so the first, so for the most part, this lesson is going to be talking more about big events, but you can scale it down to the smaller events or whatever that might be. But this would work for big events where either you're like renting out a movie theater, or if you're having like a hot cocoa bar where people are coming to you, or a pie day. Okay, the first interaction should be a save the date. Okay, I would recommend that gets sent out via email. Okay, so save the date via email. Hold on. My computer is not registering as charging. Try this again. All right, there we go. All right, so save the date, and that would be about 6 weeks prior to the event. We want to email out that save the date invite. Okay, the next interaction that you're going to do is going to be the official invite, which I would send out through the mail about 4 weeks prior to the event. So it may actually need to go in the mail, especially if we're using like bulk mail. It may need to go out 4 weeks prior to the event, or 5 weeks prior to the event. So it arrives 4 weeks prior to the event. Does that make sense to everybody? So 6 weeks before, email, they save the date. I'm going to send out an actual like paper invite, either that I mailed out or that it goes out through, like I design it through One Design on a, like a postcard. And that's going to go out. And I may, like I said, hit the mail button on week 5 so that it arrives 4 weeks prior to that event. Okay. 3 weeks prior to the events, I'm going to call everybody to make sure that they received the invite. Okay. If you have a system, I like the phone call. Okay. This gives you that interaction, that voice to voice. But if you're like, Amy, I've got 3,000 people in my database and there's no way I can make it through that many phone calls in a week. Okay. If you've got 250 people in your database, you can call them. So please call them. But if you've scaled up and it's bigger, then you might want to use a system like SlyDial or something like that, where you can just drop a voicemail into their phone number and they'll get that voicemail. And it would be asking them to make sure that if they didn't get the invite, that they reach back out to you, or that they RSVP to let you know whether they can or can't come, right? So we want to give them that call to action. So you could do a SlyDial and just drop the voicemail in, but I promise you, you'll have a bigger response and build relationship faster with those in your database if you make the phone call rather than a system like SlyDial. Okay. Every time someone RSVPs, you want to thank them for RSVPing. This could be a text message and it's going to be for yeses and nos. Okay. So anytime somebody RSVPs, whether it's I'm coming or sorry, I can't come, we're going to shoot them over a text message and just be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for RSVPing, or, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see you at the event, or I'm so sorry you can't make it, but thanks for letting me know. I really appreciate that. Okay. We want to reward that behavior. Also, periodically, if they haven't RSVP'd, we want to check in with them to see if we can solicit that RSVP from them. So that could be a phone call or a text message. So if we are calling week 3, then I would recommend probably every 5 days or so, we make it a point to try to check in with those people that haven't yet RSVP'd. Okay. I would make the RSVP digital so that you can track it, so that when you're in the car, somebody calls you, instead of doing that, they're actually scanning a code and it logs it. So you don't have to remember to be like, who did I talk to in the car today that said they were coming? That you have a system in place so that you can digitally track. So I would use like a link or a QR code on that invite to encourage people to RSVP electronically. And it could take them to a system like, Eventbrite, right? Or Evite or whatever, or it could be like a Google or a Jot form. It doesn't matter. There's no wrong or right answer for that. I would just make it like a digital thing. And we want to try to collect some information from them. It will also help if you do some work and figure out a system that will help automate some of the follow-up. Okay, so maybe like choose a system that might send out a thank you for registering or thank you for RSVPing, right? So that you eliminate that step, or one that's going to send out additional emails and text messages for reminders for the people that RSVP'd that they were coming. So, right, if we can eliminate some of this work off of our plate, then the easier it will be to continue to scale this up. Okay. So we called them 3 weeks prior to the event. You're going to send out a reminder for those who RSVP'd to the event about 2 weeks out. Okay, I would make it probably like an email. So we've had like email, text message, phone calls, right? We've gotten lots of interactions so far. So this one could be an email again. And you might decide to send it out to everybody in your database. So we might remind those that have RSVP'd yes about the event. And we might also send out a secondary email to those that haven't yet RSVP'd, helping us to check in with those people to try to get them to RV with a link to be able to RSVP, and encouraging them, even if they can't come, to go ahead and RSVP so that you make sure that you know they aren't available. Okay, so that's 2 weeks out. I would do a second reminder about the event about a week before. Okay, I would make this one a phone call. Thank you so much for RSVPing. I just wanted to give you a quick reminder that the event happens next Thursday. It's at 7 p.m. You don't need to bring anything. Or if there's something they should bring, you know, if you were hosting a night at the River Cats game and you rented out the green field, it might be make sure you bring chairs or a blanket. You also are allowed to bring in snacks, right? So whatever information they might need about that event, make sure to go over that with them during that phone call. And if they don't answer, leave a phone message. Okay. The third and final reminder would be like I can't wait to see you at the event. Okay. Or a let's see, can't wait to see you. Or if they aren't going to make it, it might just be are you sure you can't make it type text message. Okay, just hey, pulling on your heartstrings in case your plans changed. I just want to let you know there's still room. Okay, and I misspoke. I would do the first reminder once for those that have RSVP'd, I would do the first reminder 7 to 8 days prior to the event. The second one, 3 to 4 days prior to the event. So all kind of the week of. And then the last reminder would be the day of the event. Okay, that I can't wait to see you at tonight's event or today's event. If it's an early in the day event, you might do it the day before instead of the day of. So an evening event, I would do it the day of. Otherwise, I would do it the day before. And again, I would send that also message out to those that have RSVP'd. No, if you still do have room with are you sure you can't make it? I still have space available. And you can also send that out to those people that have yet to RSVP. Okay. So pre-events, that's a total of 7 interactions pre-event to most of the people in our database. Make sense to everybody? Any questions? Okay. The day of the event. Oh, sorry, backing up. As part of the event reminders, you want to take the opportunity to grow your database, which means that we want to get people to the event that we don't already know. Okay, so always save room in your event for those so that you can encourage those that have RSVP'd that they're coming to invite a friend or family member to join them. And even better would be instead of letting the person who RSVP'd invite that friend, reach out to them and say, hey, who else do you know that would really love coming to this event? Who else can I invite so that we make sure you know somebody besides me at the event? And they're gonna be like, oh, yeah, I'd love it if my neighbor came or my friend or whatever. Perfect. Can I get their contact information so I can send them out an invitation? Okay, so if we capture the contact information, we've now captured people to put into our database. Okay, in addition to that, so that's a great way to grow your database when it comes to events. The other way to do it would be to promote it on social media, send out emails, mail, right? Or maybe even hand-delivered invites to expand your reach. So, and you can share it if your social media profile is set to public. You can choose to share certain posts with just like your friends or followers. So you may want to do that and just promote it amongst your friends and followers there on social media that may not be part of your regular database, although they should be, but they may not be. So this would be a good opportunity to get them into the database, collect their contact information, but invite those people. Or, maybe one of your secondary lead generation methods is maybe that you have a farm. You can invite all the people in your farm to your event as well, right? So, so you may want to go door knock to invite people to your farm. So make sure that you get it out there to places that's going to encourage people outside your database to want to interact with you and attend the event or get names and numbers from people that RSVP. Okay, the possibilities truly are endless with the ways that you can grow your database, but that is ultimately the goal of the event is number one, to convert existing database people into transactions and to grow your database so that next year when our ratio is 12-1 for people in our database to closings, that we have a higher number of people for a higher number of closings coming directly from our database. Okay, so now you have the event. Okay. You want to have fun and interact with the people at your event. That is your goal for the event, is just to have fun and interact. Okay. I would also maybe have like a photographer there so that you can be taking pictures and doing things like that. We'll talk about that more in a moment, but it should not be you. You should not be the photographer, because your goal during that event is to connect with each and every person that is there at some point, to at least come by and say hi to them, thank them for coming, and just have fun at the event. Okay. In addition to that, I would make sure that you have a party favor to send people home with, something related to the event and something fun. And this item could be like really kind of cheap and cheesy at the beginning, and it could grow in value as your business grows. So let's say that you have like a movie night where you rented out a theater and invited 300 of your biggest fans to join you at the movies. You might have like a take-home bag of popcorn, like microwave popcorn, to send them home with a label on it, with your label stuck to it or whatever it might be, saying, I hope that the fun doesn't stop here. Here's to have your own movie night at home, or something to that effect that they can take with them that's branded to you, so that they remember this fun night of movies that they had when they're at home, and it causes them to think about you again. Okay, so I would have a giveaway there, something, a party favor of some sort. Then post events. Okay, so we had all the pre-event, which was 7 interactions. We have the actual event, which I would say is like a whole nother interaction on its own. So we're up to 8 interactions. And then after the event, we want to follow up. So we want to send a card. So everyone should either get a thank you for coming card, or a I'm so sorry you couldn't make it card. Okay. Next, you will call to follow up as well with the same item. So if, the day after the event, we send out the cards thanking them for coming, or sorry you couldn't make it card. It may even include a save the date for the next event, right? So if we're doing events every 6 weeks, we started the save the date, and now, we're sending out that card. I'm so sorry you couldn't make it. I hope you can make it to our next event. Save the date. It's on this date, right? Or thank you for coming. I hope you make it to the next one as well, right? So make it super simple. You're also going to call to follow up. So day after the event, maybe like a week later, you're going to give that card time to arrive. We want to just call to follow up. Again, this could be totally a slide dial voicemail message dropped into their voicemail, saying the same things. Thank you so much for coming to the event. I really appreciate it. It was fun getting to catch up with you. Don't forget, we have another event coming up, or don't forget, if you've got anybody that needs a professional to assist them with a purchase or sale of a property, I'm here to help, right? So something to that effect. And then I would also recommend to send out an email as well, so that they're going to get a follow-up in the mail, they're going to get a follow-up on the phone, and they're going to get a follow-up via email. So that's at least 3 additional touches there. So that takes us to 11 interactions per event with the people in our database. So again, it's a good idea to have somebody taking photos at the event, because as part of my follow-up, I would put together a photo collage with the pictures and videos from the event. And that's what I would send out via email. Oh my gosh, we had such a great time. Here's your photo, or here's some photos of the event, or here's the Dropbox with all the photos and videos from the event. Take some time to peruse them, whatever it might be. So you could do it that way as well. Or we could send out the people that we have photos of, we can send those out individually, and then send out the photo collage to everybody that we don't have individual photos of. So there's lots of options there of how you can work that. I would send this out to everybody who didn't attend as well, because our goal here is to create FOMO. We want them responding and attending these events, to invite their friends, family, neighbors, coworkers to these events. We want them to have that fear of missing out of the next event. I would also recommend taking that collage of photos or the videos, and I would make sure to share that on social media. So again, just creating that feeling of FOMO for those who didn't come. You could tag the people that did come, right? And it's just helping to grow the attendance potential for the next events. You could even have a call to action in that post of, if you'd like to join us for our next event, reach out to me with private message, or, whatever it might be, or comment below, and I'll make sure to get you on the invite list for the next events. Right? So great way to grow that event list or that attendee list for the next one. Then what's going to happen is we're going to start all over with the next events. Okay, so we're just going to rinse and repeat. Events, does this make sense to everybody? Thumbs up, thumbs down, hearts. Good information. Thumbs up. Thank you, Iris. Any questions so far? Thank you for the heart. All right. The follow-up plan. Okay. After the event, everybody who is already in our database should already be on that 30+ to convert plan. They're going to remain on that plan plus the follow-up interactions that we just talked about. So we're going to interact with them at least 30 times a year. Moving forward from that point on, they should have already been on this plan, but we're also going to add in those the follow-up plans. Okay. For those that aren't yet in our database, or those that we added to the database for this event, we're going to complete those follow-up actions. And then if they're not necessarily interacting with us because they were, somebody else's friend or family member, or whoever, we're going to move them to a 12x1 campaign for that first week. So remember, that's 12 interactions in that first week, which is going to include the thank you card, the thank you call, and the follow-up email. Okay, if you also have their social media, you can tag them in social media and count that as the 4th interaction. Okay, so you're going to do 8 more interactions during that first week with them to try to get them to start responding to you and interacting with you. They don't have to do business with you. We just want them to remember who you are and be connected to us instead of captured. Okay, if they still aren't responding, I would move them then to an 8x8 campaign where we're going to interact with them 1 time per week for the next 8 weeks. Okay, again, here the goal is to get them to interact. If they still aren't responding, then we're going to move them over to the 19+ to connect. So we're not going to interact with them as much as you do the 30 people, those people who we're connected with. We're trying to get them to connect with us. So we're going to interact with them at least 19 times per year. If at any time they start responding, you're going to stop immediately and move them over to that 30+ to convert. Okay, so if they start responding in that first week during those first 12 touches, we can move them directly over to the 30 and not move them to the 8x8. Okay, if you want to know what these plans consist of, we covered that in the month of January as part of the database interactions. That's all in there. Okay. All right, vendor partnerships as part of client events. To help take some of the burden off you can have create relationships with vendors, and you can make them your partner. So you're going to ask those key vendors. They might be a home inspector. It could be a lender. It could be a sewer lateral guy or your pest inspector. It could be your home warranty person, right? Whoever that is, you can ask your key vendors to co-sponsor the event with you, which means that you're going to have someone to not just help sponsor the event, but they're going to help you plan the event. And they're also going to help share the costs associated with that event. Okay. And what's in it for them? By co-brand, you're going to co-brand all the materials with them so that their logo, their contact information is on all those invites, is on all of the event materials, that they, have like a sponsored by tag on the giveaway that you do, or whatever that might be. Okay. You may even take the time to introduce them. Maybe they're offering a special. So maybe it's a home inspector. And maybe during the event, you even let them get up on stage and be like, you introduce them. They get to share kind of what they do and what a home inspection is and why it's beneficial, not just when you're purchasing a home, but after you've owned the home for a few years, to make sure you're aware of things that are coming that may not be in, or may need to, let me try this again, to make homeowners aware of things that may need repairs done to it before it becomes a bigger issue, right? So it's okay to let that vendor partner kind of have a moment to talk with those people, but you don't have to during the event. That might be part of their follow-up, right? So I might give them a list of all of the attendees to the event. And they can also thank them for coming and explain to them the value of the home inspection and maybe even offer them a special. Maybe they're doing $100 off for everybody who attended the event. So they could do that as well. So now we've got an additional touch from that vendor partner going out to all of the people who attended that event. I can't express how helpful it can be to have help with the planning and have a second set of eyes to make sure anything isn't missed in the preparation. And you know someone's going to be there to help you set up and make sure it runs smoothly so you don't feel like you have to do it alone or beg people to help you. So having vendor partners can help. And you don't have to have just one. You could have multiple vendor partners helping with each event. Now, I wouldn't recommend having all three of your lenders help at the same event, but maybe like a lender and an insurance person and a home inspector, right? So you could have, or a home warranty, right? So you could have different vendors from different areas or business types helping at the same event. All right, let's move on now to seminars. So seminars are also a great way to reach the masses. So where our events were more fun, seminars are going to be more informational, right? So they kind of fall in line, and you could actually do a mix of seminars and events. Seminars can be in person or they could be virtual, right? And it could be a seminar on things like home buyer education, investment property strategies, first-time home buying, senior housing options, becoming a landlord, turning your house into a smart home, or maybe even tips and strategies for relocating out of state, right? Or maybe you're talking about getting acquainted with the area for military families, trying to catch those like PCSing to the area before they actually move so that you can capture their business, but maybe you want to introduce them to the different cities and talk about the different activities there are and hiking and right? So all those cool things. So you could try to reach people moving to the area. Okay. Remember here, when it comes to seminars as well, you can always pair with vendors to help cover the costs, people to provide refreshments, or even better, I would say find strategic partners to help you in the presentation. So in fact, you know, for like a first-time home buyer seminar, you might have a piece of it, but if you partnered with a lender, they can deliver the expertise on getting pre-qualified and what's involved with that. If you were doing, you could just do something like a trust seminar, like the importance of having a living trust, and maybe you don't even play a part in that presentation. We just have somebody come in to do that presentation, but you're doing all the promotion and everything for it and capturing all of the leads, right? So so keep that in mind if we strategically find partners to help us with the seminars. Consistency is key. So for seminars where we had events were kind of one every 6 weeks, seminars you could do more where you could go once a month for seminars. And if you do it like that on a monthly basis, I would choose like the same day and time every single month. So it's always like the first Monday each month at 7 p.m. That way it creates that consistency. It makes it easy for people to attend. Also attend future seminars and invite others to future seminars because we always know that it's the first Monday, okay? With that, as far as promotion goes, and well, not promotion, as far as consistency goes, you may choose that you have like 3 seminars that you repeat for the year. So we do one the first month, one the second month, one the third month. So, right. So we have a rotating list of seminars, or we might do the same seminar every month for the year or every month for 3 months. Okay. So there's no wrong or right answer. You could change it up and do a different seminar every month of the year, or you could do it kind of in a rotating basis. The thing with doing a repetitive one is if you have people that have attended and they're like, oh my gosh, this was such good information, I wish so-and-so attended. By doing it repetitively and know when you're doing it again, whether it's the next month or in 3 months, you can let them know, oh, we plan to do it again. Who was your friend that you wanted to invite? I'll make sure they're on the list for the next one, right? So we're able to grow our database with those referrals of people that should have attended that didn't. So just think of that when we're creating the seminar list and creating that consistency and the plan. For promotions, I will use something like Eventbrite or similar system to manage those registrations. And I would promote it everywhere so that you're targeting those that are interested. So if I was doing like prepping your house for sale or moving out of state. Let's say that we were doing a tips for relocating out of state seminar. I might target homes that had like 90% equity, right? Or those that had owner occupants. Or for an investor seminar, targeting those homes with 90% equity might be a win too, right? And we want to send mailers. We want to promote it on social media, post it in all the area groups, and even advertise in local businesses. Okay, let people know, get the word out there. We want to get it out in front of as many people as possible that we're hosting this seminar. Make sure each time you have a seminar that you have clearly defined goals for the number of attendees at each seminar, so that you know what your lead generation goals are. Okay, invite your database too. Don't shy away from sending that invite out to the database to invite them to the seminar, or to let you know if they have somebody that they would like you to send the invite to as well. Again, our goal here is that we get contact information for the people that should be there, so that we make sure we stay in charge of those connections. Okay, and as always, we're still going to make sure to write everything down that you do, where you promoted, the timing of your promotion, what worked, what didn't work. You always want to be reviewing those processes so that you know what is working, which is going to make it easier for you to repeat steps in the future for the next seminar, those steps that brought you success, or it's going to allow you to pivot away from the ones that aren't working and change that strategy. So always write down every single little thing that you do. When it's time for the actual seminar, I would make sure to let everyone introduce themselves and state what their goals are for the class. Okay, and it may not be that like in the group setting you do this, but as people are walking in and checking in, maybe you're making sure to introduce yourself and asking them what their goals are. The idea here is that if we know what people's goals are walking into the class, we can tweak it or change it just a little bit to make sure that we are able to meet their goals before they leave. Okay. Also, make sure that you leave time for questions, and you want to work to connect with each attendee, whether in person or virtually. Okay. We want to connect with those people. Ideally, offer refreshments when it's over so that you can connect with them. If it's in person, obviously, so you can connect with them on a personal level, ask them what they thought. Did they get all their questions answered, right? And if we're doing it virtually, especially like if you've got somebody else kind of leading the seminar, you can be sending direct messages to people inside of that seminar, especially if you use a platform like Zoom, where you can be messaging them to make sure that they know how to connect with you, make sure that they're getting the information, find out if it's useful, right? So we can be sending those direct messages. The ultimate goal of each seminar is to book a one-on-one appointment with each person so that you can further dive into their goals pertaining to the seminar and how it relates to their real estate goals. Okay, so goal here is one-on-one appointments from that seminar. Post-seminar, so after the seminar, you want to be the resource and create interaction campaigns specifically related to the seminar to connect with them and provide value. So as always, everyone who attends should get a thank you card. Okay. If they registered for the seminar and didn't show up, then it might be, instead of a thank you card, it might be, oh, I'm so sorry something came up and you weren't able to attend. We're hosting the next one on this day. We'd love for you to join us at that one. Please let me know if you would like to be included, right? The next interaction is going to depend after that thank you card. So everybody gets a thank you card. The next interaction is going to depend on if you set an appointment with them already or not. Okay. The appointment that you set could be an actual like in-person appointment, or it could just be a day and time that you set to connect with them on the phone. Like, hey, I'll check in with you on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Does that work? Right? So that would be an appointment. For those that you set an appointment with, you're going to send them reminders for the appointment and you're going to meet with them. That's your follow-up plan outside of that thank you card. Okay, if you didn't set an appointment with them, I would recommend moving them to that 12 by 1 campaign for that first week. So remember, that's that 12 interactions for the first week. It's going to include the thank you card. It's also going to include a thank you call, a follow-up email, along with tips and information related to the seminar. Okay, so all 12 interactions should draw them back into that seminar and ideally have a call to action to get them to reach out to you or whoever was hosting the seminar, right? If they still aren't responding after those 12 interactions, then we're going to move them over to that 8x8 campaign where you're going to interact with them one time per week for the next 8 weeks. Again, the goal here is that it's going to be seminar related content. We want to draw them in with that content by elaborating further on things that were touched on, reiterating things that were mentioned. And these interactions are going to be a mix of phone calls, text messages, emails, and social media. Okay. If they still aren't responding after those first 9 weeks, then we're going to move them over to that 19 plus to connect. And that's where they'll sit in your database on the 19 plus to connect until they start responding to you forever. Okay. You want to be the resource for those that attend the seminars. So be strategic. Okay, again, be strategic of what kind of seminar they attended. For instance, if it was a seller seminar, you may want to follow up with a market analysis report on their property, right? If they attended, even if they're connecting with you, we may want to follow up with that market analysis report, or we may want to maybe make a strategic friends with a stager, offer a free staging consultation, offer a free home inspection or a reduced home inspection, or we may just be connecting them with a home inspector and talking about the importance of having that home inspection completed, right? There's so many options there where you can go above and beyond to gain their business, but think about the type of seminar, think about the resources that would be helpful and work to connect people with those resources when they've attended those seminars. I would always invite people that have attended the seminar to the next seminar. Okay. So that because they already showed that, hey, we like this kind of format, we will show up and attend and get them to invite people to the next seminar. Questions about seminars? Okay. The last type of event that I'm going to briefly touch on would be charity events. These would be similar to what we already talked about with our client events or seminars, but these have like a give back opportunity where we're feeding back into the community, right? It's like a party with a purpose. So you could have theme night, something like a girls' night out or a diaper drive, where you can invite friends, clients, and new people to come to a restaurant. And if they bring like a package of diapers, or whatever the theme is, that you cover the cover charge, or they get 10% off their bill for bringing a package of diapers, right? You may even get the business to participate so that you don't have to pay out of pocket for the whole discount or the discount at all, right? So we may connect if we know another business owner that maybe owns like a club or something. You may reach out to them and be like, hey, so I'd like to host this charity event. I'd like to invite people to your club that maybe have never been there before. And for everybody who brings something for the charity event, I'd like to offer them half off their cover charge or a free cover charge. And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. Thank you. Can we do it on like a Wednesday when it's a little slower? And you're going to be like, absolutely. Deborah, you have a question.
I do. Um, is that kind of like sponsoring? Like, could we sponsor, like, I have a friend that has Ripple foster-based rescue. We could sponsor an event for her.
You could absolutely sponsor an event for her. Absolutely.
And then do kind of the same thing where she does most of it and we just like host or pay for.
Yeah, you would host, pay for it, show up. You would invite your database to it and help promote it on social media. And then she would also invite her followers. And then the goal here, right, would be that for everybody who supports that rescue that is coming or that she wants to send invites out to, you would be in charge of the invites. So you would need to get that list. So now you've gotten a whole bunch more people that you can add to your
Right.
database as well.
Right.
So absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I
Yeah.
think that's a good way to get started doing this stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Having somebody local that already has some sort of a charity or nonprofit or something that you can partner with would be a great idea.
Thank you.
Yep. So in addition to doing something like a theme night where people bring donations, you could also host big charity events, right? Something to bring greater awareness to a specific charity or group. And again, you can partner, as Deborah mentioned, you can partner with somebody here. That would be the idea, that you would go all out here where you'd have sponsors for the event that help cover the costs. You would charge a ticket price for the attendees that's going to help cover any costs not covered by the sponsors, plus raise money for the actual charity. You could have silent auctions and all sorts of events and activities going along with this. If you want to get ideas for something like, Amy, this is right up my alley, I love this idea, but I'm not exactly sure what that looks like or how to start that. Find some charity events that are being held locally and go attend them. Pay to attend them to see how it's run, see how things are done. Talk with local charities that maybe you have a heart for and ask them, what that would look like to partner with them for a large charity event. But it's a great opportunity to really draw in people where you're going to capture their contact information that have a heart for the same thing that you have a heart for and partner with a charity to raise money for them. When doing something like this, it might be a good opportunity to host at like a newer restaurant or venue in town that's looking to grow their clientele, because they may be willing to offer you a deal to help bring more awareness of their business. So just some things to keep in mind there. And you want to maybe even consider events where people can bring kids, like renting an ice skating rink or a gymnastic gym or local pool, which could be something for your regular events or even for your charity events as well. And still here, we want to create that FOMO, that fear of missing out. We want these to be must attend charity events. So make sure you're posting photos and videos, sending out that highlight or recap email to make them want to attend the next event, make them want to invite friends, family, other people from the community to join these events to help you grow your database. And if you're going to go this route, you maybe even want to consider starting your own nonprofit. I probably wouldn't start there, but a month or a year or two into it, after you're hosting events, you kind of get the idea of it. You may even want to start your own nonprofit for something that is near and dear to your heart. So that give back idea is fun, and it's a great way to have it be like a party with a purpose. Any questions about events, seminars, or charity events? Did everybody get some good ahas from today's lesson? I got a heart from Iris. Thank you. Deborah says yes. Fabulous. All right. Fabulous, everyone. That's all I have for you today. We will be back on Thursday talking about business to business referrals. We'll talk about how to grow that, what that might look like. It's a great opportunity to partner with local businesses, especially people you're already doing business with. So we'll talk about that on Thursday. That will bring the end to our lead generation month. If you missed any of the classes, you can feel free to catch them on the replay on the YouTube channel. And then stay tuned for the March schedule. But again, it'll still be on Mondays and Thursdays at 9 a.m. Just the content will change. And we will definitely touch on Barry's, that new interface that they're releasing, as well as we'll talk about comping properties as part of that. But if there's any other trainings you would like to see in the month of March, or a theme that you would like to see, let me know. All right. Have a great day.